The road ahead has never been more clear. Success belongs to those who take the lead. Welcome to Dealer Insights, the podcast that puts you in the driver's seat of growth. Hosted by Vin Machici, industry leader with over 30 years in automotive. This is where experience meets innovation. From cutting-edge technology to game-changing strategies, we go beyond the surface to bring you the insights that matter. Real conversations to help you navigate the ever-changing automotive landscape. Buckle up. Your next competitive advantage starts now. Imagine having a tireless assistant ready to answer your dealership questions, streamline processes, and provide personalized customer experiences 24/7. What if you could start using it today? Welcome to your introduction to ChatGPT, AI simplified for car dealers. What's going on, Vin?
Not much. How are you?
Doing awesome. We're doing another episode of Dealer Insights. It's a great day.
We sure are.
Highlight of the week, man.
Yes, it is.
So we've had a few episodes where we talked about AI. I think some of what we've discussed is, pretty high level. And this episode is a little more actionable, right?
Yeah.
But we need to kind of take a step back and just share from a really simple level, like how could a dealer start today using AI and not getting so deep in the box that they don't realize they're in the box?
Yeah, so using AI today is kind of like using the internet in 1996, in my opinion,
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot that comes out of AI, but it's just not there yet. So everybody's doing their best to emphasize AI to get attention, right? But basically, ChatGPT is better today than it was a year ago, and it's going to be better in a year from now, and two years from now. There's a lot of details as to what and how it's better, but it would probably bore the hell out of our car dealer audience if we went into the details. But as an example, last year's version had a shorter memory than it has this year. Now ChatGPT can remember things that you've told it across conversations better, leading to like more personalized context and answers to questions like we're using it here. But basically, you know, to I always say it was great being born around the time I was born. There's a book called Outliers, and sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time. And maybe, 50 years from now, my kids will say, hey, I was born in the right time. But we got to see life before and after technology, if you were born around the time I was born. And, from video games to cable TV to, the internet, email, to social media and all the things that are merging, AI. And, I just liked playing with new things. I don't know if you consider me an early adopter or whatever, but I just like getting involved. So if I were a dealer right now, I would say that just pay attention. If you're not paying attention, that'll be a problem. But you don't have to rush in and change your whole business at the moment. Everyone's got to like use their best intuition and not worry so much about what they're missing out on. Like, what is it going to do to help their business? That's how they need to look at it.
So I appreciate that. And, we're not too far apart in age. I think I got you by a couple of years, right? Anyway. No. I remember playing outside, playing in the woods, riding my bike with my buddies, and back in the early 2000s, when I had an opportunity to kind of shift my trajectory and get into digital marketing and learn about SEO and Google Ads, and it was interesting to me because it was brand new, like, and so just like AI is today, but I really want to share some of the specifics on what a dealer, if you've heard of ChatGPT, and look, there's Perplexity, there's Gemini, there's Claude, there's a bunch of AI models, and the way that those AI models are, conceptually, they're the same. They're large language models with an NLP, right? Natural language processing. So you can talk and interact with it. And just like Vin and I are talking here on this podcast, but they're different the way that they're engineered, the way that they're designed. And we're not going to get in the weeds on biases, but you do have to be aware if you're gonna download ChatGPT app or set up a free account on OpenAI's website, or download the app on your phone, right? You can get a free account, and that's how you do it. You just set up the free account. You can do an upgrade to a $20 account. It gets you a couple of more models and a little more functionality, a little more frequency on some of the more current models. But that's it. That's all you have to do to start using it and exploring. And then, so with that said, Finn, I've asked you in previous episodes, right? You're a dealer principal or a general manager, and you just downloaded ChatGPT on your phone. What would you do with it? What would you load into it or tell it about your business? And what would you have it help with?
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said about LLMs and how they learn and all that. My version of ChatGPT knows a lot about me because I use it all the time. Um, and we talked about it in past conversations. I don't know if we've talked about this on other podcasts, but you got to be careful with the output too. And you don't necessarily use the output, but it helps frame what it is that you want to do. Um, you know, I know general managers write a lot of emails, for example. It can write emails for you, but I wouldn't let it write emails for me because I have my own flair. And that's where the human element is involved, right? You can use it to research. You can use it to, in terms of what you just said about feeding it data about your business, you can't just send a spreadsheet into it yet. I mean, there are ways, but that's really what we've designed here is for conversational and CRM data and lead data and inventory data and conversations via or communications via email and text. The way I look at a lead is, um, you know, it's not just if you go back in history, dealers had captive markets and customers would walk in. Then they started calling. Then they started filling out leads. Then they started chatting. Then they started, communicating through social media channels and so forth. And our CRMs were built to collect all that information. So what we've built is a layer of technology. Think of the conserver as a layer of technology where you can plug these conversational pieces into to create VCons, which are a format for that data, a standardized format that's going to be an actual standard soon. Now you can decide where you want to feed that information into. So it starts at the basis of where does the data come from. If you go into any dealer CRM, all dealers, I assume, want their CRM to give them clean, consistent data. I know a lot of them use them because they need to use it to desk a deal, and they need to have a place to store their customer information. But ultimately, CRMs were for organizing the data so you can get reporting out of it to help you run your business better and make you more efficient. I would question whether, that's happening in most dealerships consistently. I mean, it's happening. It's just a matter of who's looking at the data and who's making decisions based on the data. So to me, one of my pet peeves is making sure we collect data that's clean, even if that means our numbers might not look as good as a competitive BDC or an in-house BDC that may not be collecting it as cleanly as we are to be nice. And so, because I want to know what's working and what's not working, I don't. It's not a tool where you can say, "Hey, I'm better than you." That's or I'm the best. A lot of dealers are very competitive, so that's kind of how they. Oh, you got to get to a 10% lead to close ratio. Sure, that might be the goal, but there's a lot of variables in getting there. Um, to include your marketing, your merchandising, your inventory, your people, um, your market presence, and so forth. So it is too many to just look at a number and say 10%. You're bad if you're not at 10%, and people know that, so they find ways of manipulating the data, and I don't do that because I want to be able to take that data and feed it into reporting that I can look at every day and make sure that I know we're on track or we're not. And the way you do that with LLMs is you have to consistently capture it and then consistently feed it, and then you have to train it to give you the output that you're requesting, and that's not easy. We've been at it for 2 years, and we're not looking at AI just to create a bot to replace a human. We see a lot more value in the business data and the dark business data that no one even knows exists. And we're uncovering that with AI, which is really cool, in my opinion. And it's fun. Like I told you, I like playing with new things. So this is something new that I can dig my teeth into and try to figure out.
Yeah, you're rolling your sleeves up, getting your hands in the dirt, and of course, it is new. But I think early on, like you just mentioned, 2 years ago, you've seen the power of what's possible, and you started doing what you do, connecting those dots, and then figuring out how to build to ultimately, right, the ultimate goal of and one of the primary principles of what Strolid provides, which is helping dealers sell more and just to do better. And I don't mean to minimize that by putting the word just in front of it, to help dealers do better.
Let me explain though a little further on that, because what I just said, if I was listening, I'd be like, okay, great. How do I do that? And that's why I tell dealers, don't worry yet, because I just told you a year ago, ChatGPT was not as good as it is today, and next year it's going to be even better, and faster, less resource intensive. Like for example, you can now uh, uh, look at text, vision, audio, multimedia capabilities that didn't exist a year ago, and it understands nuances better and reasoning better, and instructions more accurately. So that's just going to keep improving. So anyone who's wasting their time right now on old models, they're going to probably be in trouble. But the best part about having a conserver and having your data stored securely is when the new models appear, you can switch to those. Or hopefully you're with one that's progressive and continues to improve on it. Um, and that's kind of how I see it, is like the data is the important part, and we're turning conversations into data, and we're helping you store them in a compliant and safe, redacted customer information, and securing the data, because AI is not a safe place right now.
So just kind of backing up, what I'm hearing is if you were in that leadership role in a store, and you just downloaded ChatGPT, you would get your data, right? You would be leveraging it for some level of analysis, right? And
That's what
making
we're doing right
sure.
now, but there's lots of use cases that you can do with that data, but that's one. We're looking at it as insights and analysis. Like you can use it to build bots and learn. No
Oh,
question.
absolutely. Right. But I think we're trying to keep it like 101, right? So, I don't think you would be shocked to hear that I put my chat GPT to work for a script, right?
Right.
Marketing script.
Well, it's funny. I think people get a little embarrassed to say that they use it for things. I don't. I'm like, I love quick and fast. Um, I like speed. I don't like wasting time. I don't like spending a month on a plan. And ChatGPT can speed all that up if you use it right. I mean, you can look at your business and say, you know, give me a marketing plan. Here's what's important to me. Here are the types of cars I'm trying to sell. You know, here's my market. Here's what my market says, and it'll develop a plan for you. However, you may not like or agree with all of it. That's where you have to use your brain, right, and critical thinking and intuition, because it's just going
Yes.
to spit out information that it has the ability to collect from, and it's not collecting from your brain. That's why I like conversation so much, because it isn't it's real. It's unbiased. It's actually what happened. And you're either going to want to hear that or not. And if you don't want to hear it, you know, I feel bad for you, because it's okay that you're not perfect. You know, it's okay that your customers are complaining about you. It's okay that your market, you think, you know, your customers think your prices are too high or whatever. Because if you're a good business person, you want to know that information, frankly.
It allows you to keep your finger on the pulse.
You can do a lot of things. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it's going to evolve, and it is evolving. In time, these use cases will, you know, start to become more um, focused, and companies will take advantage of um, how to bring it into focus even more, and make it better and better and better. And that's competition, and we can provide you with the data. That's what's exciting about what we got here at Strolid
That
to do it.
that's we certainly can. And you can download the app, you can start prompting it, you can keep those prompts basic. I want to just share, I think I can share my screen here, which we don't necessarily have to include in the edit, right? So I know this is the interface when I'm using ChatGPT with my personal account. And I was trying to get Ken set up with using projects in ChatGPT. And so that's when I first seen what it looks like. I'm assuming, your login is more similar to what Ken sees. So a project, like I have a Heart City Toyota project, right? I can edit this out, or I can give a shout out to Kent. I used you as an example, Kent, and you're more than welcome to use any of this, and I'd be more than happy to even give you a voiceover. But I said, give me. So in the project, Vin, I uploaded some documents, right? That were shared with me or I created, and then I put instructions. Right, I said Heart City Toyota is a Toyota dealership in this market. They have competitors. I put those instructions. So now every prompt within the project is going to look at the instructions. It's going to reference the data. And so I said, give me USP concepts, unique selling propositions, and provide a radio script that will help launch it, the USP in our market. It should connect with our customers and set us apart from the competing dealers, entice emotion, and provide a sense of hope and ease. And So the concepts are heartfelt experience every mile, drive easy, live better, your journey, our promise. Pretty good. And it gave me a couple of bullets to support each of those. And then, I mean, it gave me sound effects to lead in with. Uh, Life is a journey measured not just in miles, but in moments. At Heart City Toyota, we believe every mile deserves a heartfelt experience. It's not bad. It might not be exactly what you want. However, the best is going to be when you take the output and you challenge it and you put your twist on it and you fill in some of the blanks. So if it ends up being 80 or 90% the way there and you just tweak it, you got there a lot faster. So that's a huge efficiency gain. There's no way, I've been doing this a pretty long time. There's no way I could have written 3 scripts or even come up with the 3 USP concepts in the very short amount of time that ChatGPT provided.
Yeah, no, I agree. The actual work that it takes worries me a little though, because that's where your experience comes from, is grinding it out and coming up with all that. And when it's presenting it to you without any effort or sacrifice on your part, it can create, less. One of the fears about AI is it's going to limit in the future um, the need for knowledge, right?
Right.
Um, and my ability to look at what you did and critique it comes from my experience. So if I've never experienced it, then and it's just happening for me, where does the human, experience come from in 50 years when people with the experience that we have from actually building all that up? I don't know. I mean, I could be dead wrong. I might be just the old guy complaining about that, but yeah, I mean, it's fantastic for me. I worry about like colleges and stuff. I mean, college kids don't use this. I'll be shocked. I know they have
Oh,
ways of
yeah.
knowing whether or not you used AI for stuff, but um, I don't think it's, in the same token, I don't know if you're not learning, you're just learning quicker. That could be another thing that I'm not thinking about. Um, I hated school for the simple fact that I hated to sit there and go through all the minutia and BS. I just wanted to know, what are we learning? Show me what, how, why, and I will study it and then give me a test. Like, you could speed up that whole, learning process potentially. But whatever. At the end of the day, what you just showed was pretty, impressive, and I use it for Strolid, right? For similar things, and I have ChatGPT for a lot of things now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm getting more done necessarily, because there's still decision making, when to use it, how much time do you have to actually execute on it, and all of that comes into play. So, but it's definitely an efficiency, no question.
Yeah. So I think there's if I were in a position in a dealership, I would gather reports, right? I mean,
Yeah.
ChatGPT is like an assistant. When you have an idea, you can just drop into that app and you can put your idea in and get some feedback. So what I would do, number one, is I would go to my website. I'd go to the homepage. I would copy all of the text and I would drop it in. I wouldn't prompt it. Then I would go to my inventory, new inventory, and I would copy whatever SEO content is there and I would paste it in, go to my used, I'd go to my About Us page, right? Those core pages, I would copy the text, drop it in, hit enter, document it. That's one
Yeah, and
method.
you're a marketing guy, so obviously you're thinking up marketing ideas.
Yeah.
So if you break it down, what is a dealership? A dealership's just I always say it starts with a lead, but marketing people could argue it starts with the marketing. So you've just explained some things you can do with the marketing. And then we're a lead handling business, right? So what can we
Yep.
do for that? Well, we can see what, leads have higher quality, which ones convert better, which ones we engage with more, what our agents are, which agents are doing well and why, and which agents struggle and why, based on the conversation, which dealerships are doing well and why, and which dealerships are struggling and why. And that's the lead handling sales side of things. And then obviously, you have the dealership that sells cars. Um, you know, Draw me up a sales plan for my sales team. Build me a pay plan for my sales team. Build me a follow up structure that works. Build me some email templates that my team can use. Whatever. And then you have the used car side. Which vehicles are getting um, more looks than others, and why isn't this car getting attention, and so forth and so on. And then you could go into service, and then you can go into parts, and just use it for any, just to develop the plans. The challenge is you still need people to execute on the plans.
Right.
And where I'm not sold yet is that a robot can actually execute on the plans better than a human, or have a conversation, or build rapport, or whatever. So this is really my vision, my prediction of the future. Um, those who are good at building relationships and developing teams and leading people are going to be in there. That's where you want to be in the future, because a lot of the other stuff can be done with AI. But I don't want a robot talking to my customer necessarily. Maybe that happens. Hopefully, it's when I'm either retired or on to the other side.
I, well,
Because
you
I
and I,
like I like human to human interaction.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I thrive on it. I need it. Everyone needs it. It's a human need. We
everyone
talked
needs
about
it,
that
man.
before. So
Yeah. And Vin, we align perfectly. I'm 100% um, behind you on that statement. Think of this as a way to empower your team. It's not going to replace them. It's going to empower them.
mm-hmm.
It's, and it at times it could create more work, but think about the outcome if you were to create a plan and now you want to execute.
My fear for people is a lot of people do like doing the mundane, day to day BS stuff and just have a job, and those are the people that need to worry, because AI can do some of the task orientated type jobs much faster than a human can. And that's where it gets like, well, what are you going to do if that's what you like to do?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of professions that are in potential trouble. Like, for example, being a teacher. My wife happens to be a teacher. It, the best teachers to me are the ones that can connect with students. It's not so much, collecting building out the tests and collecting the data from the scores and all that kind of stuff, or drawing up reports and things like that. It's more time with the student and helping them learn is what's most important in teaching, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And hopefully it goes that direction, is that we have more human engagement and not less, um, quality human engagement, right? And
Yeah.
so that's where I'm hoping it all goes. But if unfortunately greed's a factor, and I don't mean to say business owners are greedy, but I know that there are a lot of businesses out there that are being told by their shareholders, find ways to, reduce headcount, increase profits, and they see AI as a way to do that. I just say be careful, because you could reduce your customers too,
Right.
potentially. If you go too fast, too heavy into it, and you don't look at the experience that's coming out on the other end. But with that aside, there's so much more to AI than just replacing people.
Yeah. Again, I think empowering. It's funny that you bring up education. I didn't know your wife was a teacher. My two sisters are a teacher. My wife works in the school as well. Um, so huge fan of education. And I recently seen I can't remember where it is. I'll try and dig it up and send it to you. Um, but there's basically this new model where these kids uh, they learn through AI agents teaching them for 2 hours a day. The remainder of their school day is spent with them immersed in the things that interest them hands on. So if they like art, then they're doing art for a majority of the time, but they're getting the education and they're scoring out like so far above average. It's interesting to see
That's
that
good.
model. So is that progressive or is that alarming? Only time will tell.
Right. Well, as I mentioned, ChatGPT is only going to get better. It's had in the last year we've seen improved reasoning and how it handles prompts. I actually argue with it sometimes. It's pretty funny because I don't like the answer it's given me because it seems pretty biased uh, in certain directions. But it's better at following complex instructions now, maintaining the structure of what it is in the path that you're leading down. The reason it's got it's summarizing for us. It's summarizing conversations and pulling out CRM ready data, and it's more reliable and coherent. Like it can pick up on anomalies in data where, like for example, I had a dealer one time tell me that if we can't get them to 15% lead to close, then he'd be wasting his money with us. Come to find out, people in that dealership we discovered were deleting leads to just to make him happy. And so it's a behavior. Be careful what you ask. Like I want to know I want to know how each one of my people are doing, good or bad, so I can address the bad ones and praise the good ones. I want to know what each leads to provider is actually doing. I don't want to have this, fabricated kind of number KPI that I came up with in my head just so I can, it's like an ego thing. Oh, I'm the best. I got to get better than everybody else. Um, you know, my engineers this morning were telling me they wanted to fix all the spellings or something within the transcripts. I'm like, or or things that my people said wrong. I'm like, no, 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 don't fix it. Like, if I worried about my people not being perfect, I wouldn't sleep at night. I don't worry about it. Like, people are going to make mistakes. Now, we don't want to make critical mistakes, but mistakes are how you learn. And we have the ability to know when they're making mistakes, and we can correct those. Um, and hopefully that returns a higher, you know, probability of an appointment or a show in the showroom or a deal because we're getting better and better. I know I'm paying attention. I would question dealers that aren't paying attention and are managing by KPI, but they don't really know why they're at 15% or why they're at 4%. I want to know why so I can fix it, not because I want to intimidate people into thinking that if they don't get there, they're going to lose their job or something like that. No, I want to help them get better. It's really simple. Managing people is setting expectations. Hey, I want you to be at this, and these are the KPIs we manage by. And if you're below those, we'll help you get better. It's our job as trainers and managers to help people get better. If they don't want to get better, that's a decision that they're making. So I don't feel like I ever fire anybody. It's like, here's what we expect, here's how we want it done. If they're not doing it, we bring them back and say, remember when we hired you and we told you this is what we expected, and here's the job description you signed that said you were going to do these things. It's not an option.
Right.
And so if you don't do it, then you can't work for us. It's really that simple. I was actually talking to a gentleman the other day who was a sales manager at a store, and he was telling me about one of the salespeople who sold a lot, but never, was pulling teeth getting the follow process. And I said to him, where I came from, it didn't matter how many cars you sell. If you couldn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, I let good salespeople get away with a little bit more than normal if they're selling a lot, but they gotta have some, they have to follow some type of process that we have in place. You can't just let them run wild. It just poisons the whole entire sales team. And then not one person is, so anyway, the way you do that is by developing a process and then measuring results. You can't manage what you can't measure or what you don't measure.
I'd like to talk about the measuring results part. Like, I'm a big fan of accountability, and I'm a huge fan of data. With the marketing background, um, you remember hearing back in the 2005, 6, 7, 8, right? Pre 2010, 05 to 10, every vendor, right? Digital was just starting to gain traction. The super early adopters and innovators of that were people like you and I, where we could see the writing on the wall.
Yep.
And these traditional agencies started developing like traditional products in, reactively, not proactively, because they started, after time and losing budget and more budget going to digital. But my point in this is AI is in a very similar place, in my opinion. And every vendor has data, report, dashboard. And so the dealer becomes inundated with siloed numbers.
You asked every dealer, and they were honest with you, out
Yeah.
of to show me what they look at. There's probably 3 to 5 different KPIs, or they don't look at it all. They can't.
I know.
What's the point of KPIs? What's the point of data points? It's like, show me anomalies, show me where things are going down or going up or whatever.
Yeah.
And now I can assume and drill in and find out what the problems are, right?
Right.
That's really what data is about. But there's too many dashboards. There's too much data. There's too many data points. There's too many log. I mean, we're having trouble getting dealers to log into our portal right now. And to me, if I was a salesperson, I'd be living in it because there's opportunities in there. But with that said, when you talk about accountability, like, first and foremost, realize this: you're never ever gonna be able to run a perfect operation with people, and therefore if people are feeding the information into the AI, you're probably never going to run a perfect AI solution either. Like, nothing's perfect. It's a matter of where is your basis and where do you want to get to? What are your goals and how do you get there? Forget about being perfect. Find out, focus on how to achieve the goals that you're after. And with car dealers, it's to sell and service more cars. How do we
Correct.
do that? That's the base, right?
Yep.
Well, where are we? Where were we? What's our inventory level like? And what's my team like? I see too many people get blamed for bad performance when there are other reasons why the performance is bad, and it's not the people. You know,
So Vin, is it reasonable to say data analysis is now more accessible, that AI is the force multiplier? Okay, this will level the playing field. Now the prompting is the skill, right? Anyone can have a free ChatGPT
it's not
account.
just a skill. Back up. So what we were just
Sure.
saying about the base, the
Yep.
data has to be right first, and then the model has to be trained to recognize. Like, for example, if I put in every conversation into a Toyota store and I said, "Show me all the customers that were on a Toyota, we're looking for a Toyota," um, hopefully it can go through all the conversations and the leads that we put into the VCon and inventory and all that, and pull me the right list of data. But that has to be tested and watched. And and make sure that we're getting it all, or we're not missing anything. Otherwise, and so that's the work we've been doing for 2 years.
Right.
And so now, as I mentioned, ChatGPT is getting better. So things we were working on a year ago, they're actually making it easier to do now. And there is new technologies coming out. There's a thing called MCP, which gives us the ability to API into connect an API right into any AI tool that didn't exist a year ago. So now it's like a plug and play, and we're able to feed it data better than trying to do it through API to API kind of thing. So anyway, the reality of it is, what I'm saying is, it's evolving. The reasoning is improving. The prompt handling is improving. Uh, you know, it's going to get better. So um, first, you need the data right before you can ask it questions.
Right.
I've been trying to get people to input through a process, and we miss steps from time to time, and it drives me crazy because they're human. But it drives me a little crazy. Like, we forgot to put a note in a system after we talk to somebody. Well, humans do that. You know what I mean? Um, so why did they do that? Because it requires them to go from one system to the other and type and da 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 da. Imagine if I could have it just put the notes in automatically and get the data correct. Now I can prompt it because I know it's never going to be perfect. If you've ever taken statistics, there's always a margin of error, even with data. Even with humans, with data, it doesn't really matter. There's a margin of error. So anyone that's out there looking for perfection is going to make themselves crazy. Where are the
So
opportunities missed? Where are we falling short of what we expect from our employees? What is the process that we have in place, and is it working or is it not working? Those are things that we can measure with AI once we have the data right. Or is our marketing working? Is our leads working? What percentage of my customers have trades? What percentage of those are we actually retailing? Yada, yada, yada. I mean, what's our lease penetration? What's our gross, even if you plug in that data point, right? So I've made this prediction to a bunch of different people over the last year, and I'm going to save this. I know that people working on this, but I'm going to save this for 3 to 5 years from now when I'm right, because I'm going to be right. CRM today is going to be totally different than the way it's going to be in 5 years. You're not going to need to type in all this information and click buttons and reschedule tasks and all that. The conversation is going to tell you what to do. And that's the most powerful thing about what vCon and Conserver do, is it gives us the ability to know what's going on in our customer conversations at any moment in time.
the vCon is altering the landscape of what can happen to provide a more direct path to the results dealers want, while maintaining that, or enhancing the personalization and the experience for the customer. Fair?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
And for the vCon side of the business, the Conserver side, the Strolid.ai side, really what we want to do is help companies create their own data. And we do have applications and things like that. We don't have any plans to build a conversational CRM, for example. We could, but that's just a giant project, and we're happy being that layer of technology that helps take those conversations and turn them into vCons, and then store them for you so you can use them when a new chatbot comes out, or you can use them when a new AI, generative AI tool comes out, or you use it when a new application is built that you want to, feed data to. So that's where we are as a company at the moment. Now, we're also using it to enhance our automotive business, clearly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's not just improving our business, it's improving the result for the dealer. Like anytime not speaking for you, Vin, but when I hear you say improving our business, how I interpret that is it's better for the dealer.
Right. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've said 1,000 times, you want to start a business, you have to be able to solve a problem for your customer and do something that they have trouble doing, or do it better than they do. Um, and then you have a business. Like, for example, I could go home and make a pizza, but someone does it better. Why would I go home and make a pizza other than having fun with your kids or something? But it's faster, quicker, easier to go to a person that knows how to make pizzas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They figured out that's the bridge that they've built.
Mm-hmm.
Best pizza joint in town. And
if it was easy to make it yourself, and you could make it better than the pizza places, you wouldn't go there.
right.
So we make better pizzas when it comes to customer communications. That's kind of, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of dealers that do a great job with what we do.
Sure.
And we don't want every dealer in the world. But some of the applications we're building, we feel like every dealer could use. And we're working on a hosted version to be able to sell it to them the way we use it here. Strolid's a great sandbox for this stuff because we get to play with it and use it in real life. It's not just a concept or an idea like some of these tools that are getting thrown at these dealers that haven't really been tested. They're the new entries that are in on AI. If you're brave enough to sign up for them early on, you're their Strolid sandbox. They're going to learn from you, and all the mistakes they make are going to be at your expense. So we're trying to develop that without having to go through that pain. Because I would imagine it's painful, unless the dealer's like, hey, listen, I know it's new and I'm expecting it not to work. But I don't know how many people would buy something that they don't expect to work. And don't get me wrong, it probably works. I'm just saying, does it work to your expectations, to your level of expectation? Is it giving a customer experience the way you want it as an owner with your name on the building?
Right. Well, I know, number one, I know we're about up on time, so I'm going to switch gears into a little outro here. But we put a document out a couple months ago for some, I think it was top 20, dealer playbook for AI prompts. I mean, it's a starting point, right? So you can use it for your data. You can use it for creative ideas. You can use it for planning and process. I think the key takeaway is don't be afraid of it. Don't feel like you're missing out if you don't have time to get into it now. But if you do have the time and the curiosity to download, set up the account, and dive in and check through our channels, our website for some resources, and we're here to help.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and hopefully the people listening to our podcast understand that I may not be telling you all the things you want. I may not be giving you the sizzle and trying to sell Strolid or sell our solutions or anything like that. I'm trying to give you what we're seeing as a company in terms of the landscape around AI at the moment. And hopefully it's helping you understand it if you're having trouble or nervous or anxious about it. Because as I said in the last podcast we did, there's nothing to be anxious about.
That's right. Well,
it's nothing yet. It's nothing earth-shattering yet. It's not changing your whole business model. You still need your teams and your vendors and everybody else. There's nothing. I've not seen it work to the point where it's completely overhauled the dealership and made them lots of money and all this other stuff. So,
and it does go back to the people. So thanks so much for tuning in to Dealer Insights, the podcast that keeps you ahead of the curve with automotive industry trends, innovation, and strategies. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, review the podcast. It truly helps others find us. And you can visit us on Strolid.com for additional resources, show notes, and to catch up on past episodes if you've missed out. And make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, which is also where you can find Vin and myself. But don't forget to head over to YouTube if you want to watch along and see some visuals on screen and, of course, our beautiful faces. If you know someone who you think would be a perfect guest for Dealer Insights, head over to our webpage, and there's a form there. You can fill it out, and we'll take a look at all of those. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks a lot, Vin.
Thanks, Michael.